Hello visionaries, I'm James and I welcome you to my channel. If you've been following along and watching my previous videos, it may seem as though I've made some claims that were unsubstantiated. The reason is because when I discuss new patents, I like to discuss what they're about and how they help people, but I also like to talk about the technological or future that our society is moving towards and how these patents are steering us in those directions. So for example, in my last video, I mentioned cyborgs, which wasn't really relevant to the patents that I was discussing. Well, I also mentioned reproduction with aliens. That part was definitely a joke. But today I'm going to present two patents that were published this week that would help substantiate some of the claims I've made in my previous videos. These two patents were supposed to be published on May 11th, 2021. Patents are supposed to be published every Tuesday, but for some reason this week they weren't published till Thursday. So I'm not sure what's going on at the patent office, but it seems as though they're having some internal errors. The first patent that I will discuss is titled Assistive Gloves for Artificial Hands. This patent was granted to the Purdue Research Foundation, which is located in Lafayette, Indiana. So this patent is not for a prosthetic hand. What it is for artificial skin to cover a prosthetic hand. The patent does not specify the material that it would be made out of, but it does list examples such as silicone or nitrile rubber. So the purpose of this patent is for people that have to wear a prosthetic. This way, with the artificial skin, they wouldn't be recognized in public. Nobody would notice they're wearing a prosthetic. This way, those people wouldn't feel like they're being judged and they wouldn't feel stigmatized. The artificial skin itself would have sensors for heat, pressure, hydration, and electrophysiological impulses. So I'm assuming that the electrophysiological impulses would be impulses coming from the person's own body to determine what the body wants their body part to be doing. Basically, it would be able to do anything that a human skin would be able to do. Before I move on, there is one particular thing I found interesting in this patent. So normally, the inventor, when they write a patent, they try to make the patent as broad as possible. And they do this typically in the claim section of the patent as well as the embodiment section. The reason why they try to make it broad is it makes it difficult for other inventors to infringe upon. And when it's really broad, they could use it for more products. In this particular patent, throughout the whole patent, the inventors consistently reference artificial skin for a human hand. At no point do they mention that it could be generalized or used for other body parts. So, to me, it seems as though if somebody was to take the same concept and draw up a patent for other body parts, personally, I would think it would be passable. I'm not a patent expert or I'm not a patent attorney. I'm just somebody that reads patents on a regular basis. You can consider that your $1,000,000 idea for the day. If anybody out there wants to look into it, you would obviously have to research and make sure there's no other patents that already have this type of technology for other body parts outside the hand. But also, what I'm calling into question is whether or not taking this idea and applying it to other body parts would be unique enough to stand on its own. And when it comes to that type of topic, it is sort of a gray area, whereas maybe it would be approved by the patent office, maybe it wouldn't. You would probably want a patent attorney to discuss it with. The second patent that I will be discussing is titled System and Method for Processing Wireless Backscattered Signal Using Artificial Intelligence Processing for Activities of Daily Life. This patent was granted to Coco Homes Incorporated, which is headquartered in Palo Alto, California. So I know the title is a tongue twister. It was actually pretty hard for me to remember the name of it. And so I don't expect you to get a lot from it, but basically what this patent is for, in the simplest sense, it's an improvement upon life alert systems. Life alert systems is something typically that elderly people wear that are susceptible to illness or falling, and it would be a device that they wear on their body. And there's a little button, so if they fall down or get hurt and they need an ambulance, there's an emergency, they press the button and it calls like the hospital. But that's what the main purpose of the patent is. It says in the patent that it could also be used as a security system, but personally I think it could be used for a lot more than both of those. This device could be something that's worn by an individual or it could be something mounted on a wall in a home or any other building. So in a home type setting, this device would be using a multitude of sensors. And when I say multitude, it's really armed to the hilt with sensors. We're talking about radar, UV, photodiodes. It would have sensors for chemicals, sensors for environmental conditions, and it really goes on. There's a lot of them. And it's going to be taking information through these different sensors and combining it in different ways to pull up a lot of unique data. So for example, in a home, it would be measuring people's, first, their physiological health. So that's like heart rate, blood pressure, respiration rate. It would also be measuring their cooking habits, dietary habits, sleeping habits, mobility habits, basically how they move around, when they go and come. And it would be storing this information. And it would be connecting this information in different ways, basically to find out a lot of information about the users. In a security type setting, this device would be mounted to a wall, similar to a camera, but it would be recognizing people based not only on their vital signs, but also on biometric signals. So basically how they look and how they move and how they walk. And it would recognize these people, and then if there was somebody that this device didn't recognize, it would trigger an alarm. So within the patent, it says that this device would be sharing the information with third parties. It references things like the police department, emergency medical systems, and possibly fire departments. It didn't mention any other third parties outside of that, but if I was ever to actually use this device, that's something I would read the fine print just to know where my information would be going. I am curious how much this device would cost on an open market, because it has so many different sensors on it. It seems like it would be expensive, but they would probably have different models with different amounts and different intensities of the sensors, so there might be an entry-level model and more advanced ones for maybe commercial use. If this device seems super amazing to you, it probably should. It's a super amazing piece of technology. I mean, it barely seems real to me, and I read the patent. You can read it yourself. Everything I'm saying about it is right in there. I'm not extrapolating anything. But one thing about it is it does eerily remind me of what's going on in China with the Chinese government. And what the Chinese government is doing is they're strapping cameras to everything with facial recognition. This way, they recognize people, their citizens, anywhere they go, and they track everything they do. I mean, this patent isn't for that or to do that, but if in the future patents keep being moved in this direction, if there's more and more advancements in this type of field, in this type of way, we might end up with cameras on everything that monitor everybody, which I don't know how anybody else feels, but to me it would be a big concern. I'm somebody who enjoys my privacy. I really cherish my privacy. So for me, that wouldn't be great. But with this patent specifically, you know, there's a lot of help it could do for people, elderly people, security systems, etc., etc. Now is time for the discussion part of my video. This is where everything comes together. So in the introduction, I told you that I would be presenting a patent that supported my statements about cyborgs being real. I know the patent I presented today isn't really for a cyborg. It's not even for a prosthetic. It's for the covering to go over a prosthetic. But in order for a human to be considered a cyborg, they would have to have machine or robotic parts that would function better than normal humans. I mean, look around. Look at all the technology we have today. That would be so easy to do. I mean, we could implant an iPhone in one of our hands, and that would be better than a normal human. So really, if you really, really, really want to know the truth, cyborgs already exist. And I give you two examples. These are two men that are cyborgs, and they have really incredible stories, really inspirational, and I really would like you to go look them up and learn about them if you're interested. Their names are Neil Harbison and Dr. Peter Scott Morgan. As for the second patent that I discussed today, well, I questioned in an earlier video about the future, whether or not artificial intelligence would be controlled by humans, or humans would be controlling artificial intelligence. Now, the second patent I presented is about artificial intelligence. That device would be using artificial intelligence to collect all that user data and store it in a cloud. And the one thing that really would worry me is if there was a plan to make a giant database and collect everybody's data, everything they do at home, all their movements and all their travel, and compile it in one giant database and have that monitored by artificial intelligence. It kind of, I think there's a movie called Minority Report. I don't even think I saw that movie. I just know it tracks everybody and it figures out who's the bad people before they do it. If I got the wrong movie, let me know. But I think that's the movie. This patent doesn't say it has a plan to do that, but this is technology. Like, why couldn't that information be compiled and monitored by artificial intelligence? So, if that did happen, this device that I presented, would have a lot of power, and it could do some great things or possibly some scary things. And I guess we have to assume it would depend on the coding of the artificial intelligence, because what happens when we get to the point when artificial intelligence could make its own decisions without any human input at all? Now, I don't want you running around telling your friends like, oh my god, the world is ending, artificial intelligence is taking over, because what I'm telling you, some things I say I know might be considered conspiratorial or maybe even a little nutty, but what I'm telling you is real concerns that we should have for the future. Where we are right now, we're at the very beginning of the age of the artificial intelligence. We might even be before the beginning. We might be in the time period that will be considered the precursor to artificial intelligence. So it's not something we have to worry about. Maybe we don't have to worry about it today. But in the years going forward, these are definitely things we have to monitor and keep checks on. That's the end of my video. I thank you for watching. I hope you had enjoyed it. If you did, like the video, subscribe, leave comments down below, and until next time, please take care. Goodbye.